Welcome to this week's episode of Bridge to Faith. I'm your host, Yusuf Estes, and for the next few minutes we're going to be talking about faith, what it is, how you can get it, and how it applies to today's world. What is faith anyway? If you've watched our programs in the past, you've heard us talk about faith, but I wonder if we've really thought about the details of faith and what it is and how we get it. To have true faith, a person would have to have knowledge. Because without knowledge, it wouldn't be faith. Not really. It'd just be maybe dreams, wild ideas. But there has to be some kind of knowledge to begin with. A knowledge of what it is that we're talking about that we're going to have faith in. So there's the base knowledge. Then there has to be some testable evidence for what we're talking about before we ask ourselves to believe in the things that we can't actually see. There are some things in this life we don't see, but we have faith that they exist. There are things that are called microorganisms. You don't see those, not without a microscope. And there are things that we don't hear as well. A lot of sounds that we don't hear. Beyond our range, the realm of the human hearing. Animals can hear them, but we don't hear it. And then there are sounds that go beyond the animal's range to hear as well. What about those? But how would we have any faith in any of it if we had no knowledge? So there has to be a base knowledge. And then there has to be some way to test those suppositions that we have so that they're not just some kind of wild notions that somebody came up with, some kind of a dream or a hallucination. There should be some testable evidence to the faith. So therefore, to have what we're going to call true faith, a person is bound and obligated to have a certain amount of knowledge of what they're talking about before they go any further. And then after this knowledge, the next thing that they should have is a way of testing to verify what their supposition is based on. So, almost like a scientist of religion, you would be testing what you believe with things that you can verify. Once you're able to verify a particular notion, then you can move to the next thing. But without any kind of testable evidence, with no proof at all, this is not really true faith. And this is often what happens when people have man-made suppositions or religions that they come up with. Then when somebody wants to test that and base it on other things that we know and it doesn't work, the people lose faith in it. But just because we lost faith in what a person says shouldn't make us lose faith altogether. And we should continue looking and using what we do know to be true. When we look to the creation around us, when we look to these mighty trees that we see here in the forest, we're in Germany, by the way, if you didn't know that, we know that these came about somehow. Human beings didn't put all this together, did they? No, not hardly. What we see here, all of this, is evidence that there must be a creator, because this is the creation itself. Now, what human beings do to the creation is a whole nother matter. For instance, we could take... Well, here right behind me, you can take a look right here. See the logs here? Human beings altered those trees and changed them to look like this. Right? Yeah. And now, even though that is creation, but now it's an altered creation. And in the same way, if a human being takes true belief, true faith, and then alters it, then it's not really the original anymore. No, what we need to be responsible for is to know the difference between what is real, what's altered, and then what's totally fabricated altogether. If somebody told you, for instance, that all of this forest came out of nothing, that God made it, you could believe that. Why? Well, because there has to be some place that all of this came from, no doubt. But if somebody shows you a house that's just sitting there, and they say that that house made itself, you're not going to buy that, are you? This is where you have to really start thinking. Now, we put a website together for you so that you can do some thinking with scientific evidence along the way. It's called ScienceIslam.com. That's ScienceIslam.com. When you go to the website there, you'll be able to find testable evidence, things that you can prove, things that you can think about, and realize that, you know what? There is evidence for my faith. By the way, you know that I once was preaching, trying to call a Muslim to go to my religion. And when I was talking to him, he said, I'll go to your religion if your religion's better than mine. And I was thinking, hey, I got this guy. This is going to be really easy. This will be so easy. Why? Well, because my religion didn't require a man to pray 5 times a day. He doesn't have to fast for 30 days straight in a row. He also doesn't have to go for a place called Hajj, go out in the desert somewhere. Don't have to do any of those things. It's a very easy religion. But then the man said, I'll go to your religion if. I said, what's the if? He said, if you've got proof. I said, proof? Hey, man, religion is not about proof. Religion's about faith. He said, in our religion, we have both. I said, what? Do you mean to sit there and tell me, as a Muslim, you can prove there's God? And he said to me, do you mean to sit there and tell me as a preacher that you can't? Uh-oh. Hey, that's a point, isn't it? So what is the proof for what people are telling me? Well, if I don't have any proof, it's kind of hard to have any faith. I can take some things for granted, but I can't take it all for granted. I need to have some basic knowledge, some basic understanding that I can test, that I can look into and say, you know what? This increases my iman. It increases my faith because I have testable evidence for what I'm saying. And then that'll help me. All of that'll help put it together for me. That's pretty much what we're talking about when we talk about iman or faith. It's not a matter of just believing everything somebody tells you, but when you find enough testable evidence, then you can rely on that source to give you other information that you can have faith in. That's a thought anyway for today. Another thing we could do, by the way, we could pray about this. Because if there's a God, if there's really a creator, if there's really something or someone that made me, made all of this, then it would be up to him really to communicate with us. And he should know, if he knows everything, he should know what's inside of me. Even I don't know what's inside of him. So it means, yeah, if I really have faith, I'll test it by going deep inside of myself. Nobody else will know but me. And I'll just think. I'll just think it. Oh God, oh being, whatever or whoever you are. If you're real, you know what I'm thinking. And I'm asking you to guide me to the real faith. Guide me to believe rightly. Show me something, give me some proof, or do something so that I'm going to be rightly guided if there is any such thing as guidance. Yeah, that's it. I'll use that. Oh God, if you're there, if you hear me, then guide me. Guide me. We're ready now to go to the portion of our program we call Arabic and English. We're going to be using the English to learn Arabic. And while we're doing that, by the way, make a note of our website for Arabic and English. It's called ArabicandEnglish.com. Let's get started right now. I want to show you how easy it really is to have fun with the Arabic language. The first letter we're going to talk about is the letter called Alif. Alif is a pretty simple letter because all it is a straight stick. Just make a big straight stick like that and say Alif. Like Alif, Alif, Alif. And it has the sound of it has the sound of and it has the sound of u, and sometimes it doesn't have any sound at all. We're going to be talking about that later, but for right now, that's your first letter, and that wasn't too hard, a straight line. Alif. Don't you feel educated now? The next letter we want to talk about is a little bit different. In fact, it comes in a series of letters, and so what we're going to do is draw the tops of the waves of the ocean on here. Watch this. You see that? All right. That looks kind of like an ocean. You see that? Now, this is not the traditional way they teach you the Arabic language, but it's a lot of fun. Now watch what's going to happen. I want to ask you a question. When you see the sun at this time of the day, straight up over your head, it must be noontime, isn't that right? So if it's noontime, then that means it's straight up over one of the points over here. So when you see the points here, the ocean, and you see a dot over it like that, that's noon. Now when the letter's by itself, it looks like this, noon. But when it's in a line, it'll be right underneath one of the points like that. Can you say noon? Noon. It makes the sound of na. All right. Now, the next one is kind of fun too. We're going to put a dot below the ocean, right underneath one of the points, one under the wave right here. And whenever it's right underneath the wave like that, it's below. So say ba, below, ba, below, ba. So make the sound of B right there, ba. And then we're going to make the sound of na, right here. That's noon and ba. Get it? Was that easy? You already know 2 letters. 2 letters. As a matter of fact, talking about 2, I'm going to put 2 dots right there over the top of this point. You see that point right there? That's another one. All right, now I put 2 dots. Now you'll never guess what the sound this is going to make. Ta. Say 2. Ta. Well, this is ta. So make the sound of ta right there. Ta. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more there and make it na and ba and ta. Isn't that fun? Watch this. Well, we're on a roll. I'm going to put 3 dots right over this one right here. Look at that. 3. Say 3. Now say th. Th. That's right, because guess what? That is the name of that letter right there. That is called th. Th. Say th. All right, now we've got a ba, we've got a ta, we got a na, we got a tha. Ta, ba, na, tha. Tabanatha. I don't know what's tabanatha, but we got it right there. Look at that. Now, ordinarily, they will tell you in the Arabic language you have to learn that the letters are like this. And when it has this below it, it's a B. A ba, actually. And then when you have 2 dots above it, it's a ta. And then when you have 3 dots above it, that's going to be a tha. And if you have only 1 dot, then that's going to be na. But, you know, that's not a whole lot of fun to do it that way. That's why we devised this little thing with the ocean. The other thing they'll talk to you about is whenever a letter starts a word, or is in the middle of the word, or ends a word. Now, what happens when there's a word, for instance,